The job posting had been online for 6 months with 0 applicants. "Work for Gabriel Winters," they warned, "and you'll be fired within a week." They called him the Ice Prince, a billionaire so cold and demanding that 3 assistants had quit in tears, 2 housekeepers had fled without notice, and 1 chef had literally packed up mid-meal service. But when Maya Chen saw that $120,000 salary for a live-in estate manager position, desperation made her do something everyone else was too smart to try. She applied anyway. Before we dive deep into this incredible transformation story that proves sometimes the most dangerous opportunities lead to the most beautiful destinations, please let me know in the comments where you're watching from around the world. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready for this emotional journey, because tomorrow I have another amazing story that will absolutely blow your mind, and I don't want you to miss it for anything. Now let's get into Maya's story. The fluorescent lights of the employment office hummed overhead like mechanical wasps. For 4 months, Maya had haunted this place, clutching a resume that had grown soft from folding, watching her savings shrink faster than ice cream in July. Maya Chen had always been a fighter. At 28, she'd worked her way through college with 3 part-time jobs, earned her business management degree with honors, and landed what she thought was her dream position at Henderson Hospitality Group. For 3 years, she'd managed luxury vacation properties and handled million-dollar budgets with Swiss precision. Then the company was bought out. Restructuring, they called it. 50 people lost their jobs in a single afternoon, including Maya, who'd been 3 months away from a promotion. Now she sat across from Mrs. Patterson, the employment counselor whose permanent scowl suggested she'd given up on humanity around the Clinton administration. "Still nothing suitable for someone with your specialized background," Mrs. Patterson said, condescension dripping from her voice. "There has to be something," Maya said, keeping her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Actually," Mrs. Patterson interrupted, her eyes gleaming with malicious amusement, "there is one position. Been sitting here for months. Excellent pay, too." Maya's heart leaped. "What's the catch?" "Live-in estate manager for Gabriel Winters. $120,000 annually, plus room and board, full benefits." The name hit Maya like a physical blow. Everyone knew about Gabriel Winters, the tech billionaire worth $8.7 billion, with a reputation for being absolutely ruthless. They called him the Ice Prince, a man so demanding and cold that he went through staff like tissue paper. "The last one lasted 2 weeks before she quit via text message at 3 a.m., Mrs. Patterson continued. "The one before that made it exactly 9 days. The housekeeper literally ran out crying and never came back for her things." Maya looked at her worn shoes, thought of the eviction notice in her purse, remembered her father's tired voice saying, "Don't worry about us, sweetheart," while his medical bills wiped out their savings. "I'll take it," Maya said. Mrs. Patterson's eyebrows shot up. "You sure about that, honey?" "I'll take it," Maya repeated firmly. "When do I start?" 20 minutes later, Maya walked out with a start date of Monday morning and a folder full of paperwork that felt heavier than her entire future. She had 3 days to prepare for what everyone insisted would be professional suicide. The Winters estate sprawled across 15 acres of manicured perfection, hidden behind fortress-like gates. The mansion was a masterpiece of modern architecture, all clean lines and polished surfaces that could probably be seen from space. Everything was pristine, calculated, beautiful in the way museums were beautiful. The front door opened before she could knock, revealing a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and military posture. "Ms. Chen, I'm Margaret Torres, Mr. Winters' chief of staff." Maya followed Margaret through rooms that looked like architectural magazines. Everything was white and silver and glass. Beautiful, but somehow empty. "Mr. Winters maintains very specific routines," Margaret explained. "He rises at 5:30 a.m. sharp. Coffee should be ready by 5:35. Ethiopian single origin, French press, no cream, no sugar. Breakfast at 6 precisely." They climbed to the staff wing. "This will be your suite," Margaret said, opening a door to reveal a space larger than Maya's entire previous apartment. King-sized bed, sitting area, full bathroom, windows overlooking fairy tale gardens. "Your primary duties include managing household operations, coordinating staff, handling Mr. Winters' scheduling and meal planning. Any disruption to his routine is poorly received. Margaret handed her a thick binder. House policies and procedures. I suggest you memorize them. What happened to the others? Maya asked. Margaret's professional mask slipped to reveal something that might have been pity. Mr. Winters is exacting. He expects perfection from everyone around him. Follow the procedures exactly. Don't try to be friendly or personal. Do your job perfectly, and perhaps you'll last longer than the others. That night, Maya lay in the most comfortable bed she'd ever slept in, staring at the ceiling. Through her window, she could see lights in Gabriel's private study. This job was everything she needed. All she had to do was survive Gabriel Winters. How hard could it be? The alarm shrieked at 5:15 a.m., but Maya was already awake. She dressed carefully in her best professional outfit and made her way to the kitchen. 5:35 a.m. Coffee ready. She'd barely finished brewing when she heard measured footsteps on the main staircase. Gabriel Winters entered the kitchen at exactly 5:36 a.m. The first thing that struck Maya was how different he looked from business magazine photos. In person, he looked tired. Lines around his dark eyes spoke of sleepless nights, and his black hair was slightly mussed. He was tall with the kind of presence that filled a room, but it was his eyes that caught her attention. Deep brown, almost black, sweeping over her with inventory efficiency. Ms. Chen, his voice was deep, controlled. I trust your accommodations are satisfactory? Yes, sir. Thank you. She held out the coffee cup, noting how his cold fingers brushed hers. He sipped the coffee, his expression unchanged for an eternity. Maya held her breath. Adequate, he said finally. Margaret briefed you on the morning routine? Yes, sir. Breakfast at 6. Would you prefer the usual? The usual will be fine. He moved to the windows, his back rigid. I assume you've reviewed the house policies. Maya had memorized them. 63 specific guidelines covering everything from meal arrangement to office temperature. Yes, sir. Good. Most people find the policies restrictive. Here was the first test. I find structure helpful. It eliminates ambiguity. Something shifted in his eyes. Indeed, the next hour passed like choreographed dance. She prepared breakfast, steel-cut oats with berries, whole-grain toast, fresh orange juice, while he read reports. At 7:15, he rose to leave. I'll be in meetings until lunch. Surprise me. He paused at the doorway. The last 3 estate managers found that particular instruction challenging. She met his gaze steadily. I like challenges, Mr. Winters. For the first time, she saw the ghost of a smile. We'll see. Lunch was Maya's first real test of creativity. Instead of predictable salads, she prepared pan-seared salmon with Mediterranean quinoa salad and homemade focaccia that filled the kitchen with rosemary and sea salt. Gabriel returned at exactly 12:15. Maya watched as he studied the meal before sitting down. He ate in usual silence, but she noticed things, how he savored the first bite, the appreciative nod at the bread, the fact that he finished everything. Where did you learn to cook like this? He asked. The question caught her off guard. My grandmother, she owned a small restaurant in Chinatown, said cooking was storytelling. Every dish should tell you something about the person who made it. And what does this meal tell me about you? Maya studied him. Expensive clothes that couldn't hide the loneliness in his eyes. Perfect posture of someone always on guard. That I pay attention. That I notice when someone has expensive tastes but hasn't been eating well. That I believe food should nourish the soul, not just the body. Gabriel leaned back, studying her. You're not like the others. No, sir, I'm not. They were intimidated by me. I'm not intimidated by you. Perhaps you should be. I've been homeless, Mr. Winters. I've lived in my car and rationed meals and chosen between pride and survival. Fear is a luxury I can't afford. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, perhaps recognition. And what do you need, Ms. Chen? A chance. Just a chance to prove I'm worth keeping around. And what do you think I need? I think you need someone who isn't afraid to tell you the truth. Someone who sees you as more than just your reputation. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he stood, straightening his tie nervously. We'll see how long that lasts. That afternoon, Maya explored the house more thoroughly. The mansion was perfect, but sterile. No family photographs, no personal mementos. In the living room, she discovered a grand piano, gleaming but dusty. Sheet music sat on the stand, Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, untouched for months. Are you a musician, Ms. Chen? She spun around, heart hammering. Gabriel stood in the doorway, silent as a cat. I'm sorry, I wasn't. Answer the question. I played as a child. My grandmother insisted on lessons even when we couldn't afford them. She said music was the language of the heart. And do you believe that? That music speaks to the heart? I think music has the power to say things that words can't, to reach places that logic and reason can't touch. He stepped into the room. Play something. Sir? The piano. Play something. I haven't played in years. Play. Her hands trembled as she positioned them over the keys. What did you play for a man who seemed to take pleasure in finding fault? Instead, she found herself playing Clair de Lune, a piece her grandmother had loved, that spoke of moonlight and dreams and quiet beauty in stolen moments. The notes filled the room, tentative at first, then growing stronger. She wasn't technically perfect, but there was something honest and real that transformed the sterile space. When she finished, silence stretched between them. She turned, expecting criticism. Instead, Gabriel stared at her with an unreadable expression, his dark eyes holding depths she hadn't noticed before. My mother used to play that piece, he said quietly. The words hung intimate and unexpected. For a heartbeat, she saw not the Ice Prince, but a man who'd lost something precious. Then the moment passed, and the mask snapped back. Dinner will be at 7. I trust you'll have something equally surprising ready. That evening, as Maya prepared dinner, she found herself humming Clair de Lune. For the first time since arriving, she felt like she might survive this job. More than that, she felt like she might be exactly what Gabriel Winters needed, even if he didn't know it yet. 2 weeks in, Maya had learned to read Gabriel's moods, how his shoulders tensed during difficult calls, how he drummed fingers when thinking, the slight softening around his eyes when she brought perfect coffee. She'd witnessed him reduce contractors to stammering apologies, fire landscapers with surgical precision, dismiss business partners with cold efficiency. But those moments were balanced by others, quieter moments when his guard slipped, like finding him watching deer graze in morning mist, his expression soft with longing, or how he'd started lingering at breakfast, hungry for conversation as much as food. The piano had become their unspoken meeting ground. Each evening she would play, gentle melodies that eased the tension in his shoulders. He never asked, never commented, but never left either. Everything changed on a Tuesday evening in her 3rd week. Maya was preparing dinner when she heard a sharp, demanding voice in the foyer. Where is he? I know he's here. His car is in the driveway. Margaret's strained voice. Ms. Victoria, Mr. Winters is not receiving. Oh, please, Gabriel, stop hiding and talk to me. The woman who swept into the kitchen was everything Maya wasn't. Tall, blonde, draped in designer clothes worth more than Maya's annual tuition. Her smile was perfect, her presence commanding. Gabriel followed, his expression carefully neutral, but Maya caught the tension in his jaw, the tight fists. Victoria, he said, his voice carrying warning, don't look at me like that. I know we said we needed space, but that was 6 months ago. Victoria's gaze landed on Maya, smile sharpening like a blade. Oh, you must be the new help. The dismissal was absolute. Maya might as well have been furniture. Ms. Chen is my estate manager, Gabriel said quietly, steel in his voice. Victoria's laugh was like breaking crystal. Of course she is. How quaint. I suppose after the disaster with the last few, you had to lower your standards. The words hit like a physical blow. Maya felt heat flood her cheeks, keeping her eyes fixed on the dinner she was plating. Victoria. Gabriel's voice was sharp now. That's enough. What? I'm just saying. You're saying things that aren't welcome in my house. I think you should leave. Victoria's composure cracked. Gabriel, you can't be serious. We have history. We were engaged. We were many things, none of them permanent. You were hurt when I broke things off. You were angry. I was relieved, Gabriel said quietly, honesty like a physical blow to Victoria's confidence. I was relieved that I didn't have to pretend anymore, that what we had was love instead of mutual convenience. The silence was deafening. Victoria's face went pale beneath perfect makeup. That's not fair, she whispered. You know that's not how it was, isn't it? Gabriel stepped back, expression shuddering. Margaret will show you out. Victoria's gaze darted between Gabriel and Maya, something ugly flickering across her features. I see you've found a replacement. How democratic of you. I haven't found a replacement, Gabriel said coldly. There was nothing to replace. After Victoria left, the kitchen felt like a battlefield. Gabriel stood by the window, rigid, hands clenched. I apologize, he said quietly. You shouldn't have had to witness that. It's fine, she said, though they both knew it wasn't. No, it's not. Victoria and I have a complicated history. She has a way of bringing out the worst in people. Maya found herself speaking before she could stop. She brought out the best in you, actually. He looked at her sharply. What do you mean? You defended me. You could have avoided the confrontation, but you didn't. Something shifted in his expression. She was out of line. She was. But you didn't have to care about that. The fact that you stood up for me. She trailed off, realizing she was walking into dangerous territory. The fact that I stood up for you, what? She met his gaze. It tells me you see me as more than just the help. The words hung heavy with implication. Gabriel sat down slowly, never leaving her face. What do you think you are, Ms. Chen? The question felt like a test, asking her to define not just her role in his house, but in his life. I think I'm someone who makes your mornings easier. Someone who knows how you like your coffee and doesn't judge you for needing routine. Someone who... She hesitated, then took the leap. Someone who plays piano in the evenings because it makes you smile even when you don't realize you're smiling. His breath caught, barely audible, but she heard it. You do that for me? I do a lot of things for you, Gabriel. The question is whether you're ready to let me. That night, Maya lay in bed wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her professional life. But she didn't regret it. For the first time since arriving, she felt like she'd seen the real Gabriel. Not the ice prince, but the man underneath. And despite everything everyone had warned her, she liked what she saw. The next morning, Gabriel's routine changed. For the first time, he lingered over breakfast, asking questions. Tell me about your grandmother's restaurant. It wasn't much, tiny place with 8 tables. But she made everything from scratch and people came from all over for her dumplings. What happened to it? She got sick when I was in college, had to sell to pay medical bills. Maya refilled his coffee. She said she'd rather sell her recipes than her dignity. Family recipes are sacred things. There was wistfulness in his voice. Did your family have traditions like that? For a moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, quietly, my mother made French toast every Sunday morning, from scratch. Brioche bread, real vanilla, cinnamon she ground herself. It was the only meal she ever cooked, but it was perfect. That sounds wonderful. It was. After she died, my father hired a chef. 5-star experience, trained in France, but he never made French toast like hers. Did you ever ask him to? Gabriel's laugh was hollow. My father believed dwelling on the past was weakness. He threw away all her cookbooks, Recipe cards, everything. Said it was time to move forward. How old were you when she died? 12. 12 years old, and his father had erased every trace of his mother's presence. No wonder this house felt like a museum instead of a home. I'm sorry, she said softly. It was a long time ago. But the pain in his voice suggested it might as well have been yesterday. That afternoon, Gabriel broke another routine. Would you like to see the gardens? They walked through the estate's grounds in comfortable silence. The gardens were beautiful but formal, everything carefully controlled. It's lovely, Maya said. But, Gabriel prompted, but it feels a bit sterile. I was going to say lonely. It's perfect. Every plant in its place, every path precisely maintained. But there's no wildness, no surprises, no places where something might grow just because it wants to, not because it was planned. Gabriel was quiet for a long moment. My father believed in control. He said chaos was the enemy of success. And what do you believe? I used to believe the same thing. Control meant safety. Order meant predictability. He stopped beside a fountain. Now I'm not sure. Dear, do you know why? She shook her head. Because you don't try to control me. You don't try to manage me or manipulate me or change me. You just exist alongside me, like you're content to be here without needing me to be anything other than what I am. Is that so unusual? In my experience, yes. People want things from me. Money, connections, status, even Victoria, especially Victoria. She loved the idea of being with the Winters, but she never loved me. How do you know? Because when things got difficult, when my father died and left legal complications, when the future wasn't as certain, she left. She said she needed space, but what she really needed was someone whose future was more secure. The pain in his voice was raw. Maya felt the urge to offer comfort but held back. I'm sorry that the person you trusted with your heart proved unworthy of it. But I'm not sorry she's gone because someone who would treat you that way doesn't deserve to be in your life. He stared at her for a long moment, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. You have very strong opinions about people you've never met. I have strong opinions about people who hurt the ones I care about. The words slipped out before she could stop them. You care about me? His voice was barely above a whisper. Maya felt heat flood her cheeks. Would that be so terrible? It would be dangerous. For who? For both of us. He stepped closer. I don't know how to do this, Miss Chen. I don't know how to let people close without giving them the power to destroy me. You don't have to know. You just have to try. And if I hurt you, if I disappoint you the way I've disappointed everyone else, then I'll survive it. I've survived worse than disappointment, Gabriel. But I might not survive always wondering what could have been if we'd been brave enough to try. For a moment, she thought he might reach for her. His hand twitched, his eyes searched her face as if memorizing every detail. Then his phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He pulled it from his pocket, his expression immediately hardening. I have to take this. It's about the Tokyo merger. And just like that, the walls were back up, the moment lost. But something had changed. Something had shifted in the careful balance they'd maintained for 3 weeks. That night, Maya lay awake, listening to Gabriel moving in his study. She was falling for him. Somewhere between morning coffee and evening piano sessions, she'd lost her heart to a man who might not know how to love her back. The next morning brought a crisis that would test everything they'd built. Maya was preparing breakfast when Margaret burst in, her composure shattered. There's been an accident. Your parents, they were in a car crash last night. They're at Metropolitan General Hospital. Maya's world tilted. The coffee mug slipped from her hands, shattering against the marble floor. How bad? She whispered. I don't know. The hospital called. You're listed as emergency contact. They said it was serious. Maya stood frozen, struggling to process the information. Her parents were 3,000 miles away, and she was here while they... Go! Gabriel's voice cut through her panic. She turned to find him in the doorway, fully dressed despite the early hour. Sir? Go to them. Take the jet. I'll have the pilot ready within the hour. I can't. I don't have money for... Did I ask about money? His voice was sharp. Your parents need you. Go. The breakfast, your schedule. We'll survive without you for a few days. Gabriel stepped into the kitchen, crunching over broken ceramic. Margaret, call Dr. Harrison at Metropolitan General. Tell him I'm sending someone and I want a full report. Also, arrange for a car to meet Ms. Chen at the airport. Mr. Winters, Maya began, but he held up a hand. This isn't a discussion. It's not a favor. It's what you do for people you... He stopped, words hanging unfinished. It's what you do. 3 hours later, Maya was on Gabriel's private jet, flying toward a hospital where her parents lay broken and unconscious. The next 5 days passed in a blur of hospital corridors, medical consultations, and insurance paperwork that threatened to bankrupt her family. Her father was stable but critical, multiple fractures, internal bleeding, brain swelling. Her mother was awake but had severe spinal injuries that might leave her paralyzed. It was Dr. Harrison who finally delivered the news that changed everything. Your father's going to make a full recovery. Your mother, well, she's going to need extensive rehabilitation, but we're optimistic about her walking again. Maya sobbed with relief. There is one thing, Dr. Harrison continued gently. The rehabilitation, it's specialized, expensive. Even with insurance, you're looking at about $200,000 over the next year. Maya's heart sank. She'd already missed 5 days of work. Even if Gabriel didn't fire her, there was no way she could afford that kind of care. That evening, sitting beside her mother's bed, Maya made the hardest phone call of her life. Gabriel? It's Maya. I need to resign. The silence stretched so long she thought the call had dropped. Explain, Gabriel said finally. Maya told him everything, the medical costs, the rehabilitation needs, the impossible choice between her job and her family. I'll need to find work that pays more, probably multiple jobs. Stop talking. Maya fell silent, tears sliding down her cheeks. The medical bills are taken care of, Gabriel said quietly. What? Dr. Harrison has been in contact with me daily. Your parents' medical expenses, the rehabilitation, all of it, it's covered. Maya felt the world spin. Gabriel, I can't accept. You're not accepting anything. I'm investing in my employees' peace of mind. People work better when they're not worried about their families. This is too much. This is what you do for people you care about, he said softly. And I find that I care about you quite a bit, Maya Chen. The use of her first name sent electricity through her veins. Come home, he said. When you're ready, when your parents are stable, come home. I'll be waiting. Maya returned to the Winters estate on a Thursday evening, 10 days after she'd left in panic. The house looked the same from outside, but something had changed. Gabriel was waiting in the foyer, still wearing his business suit but with tie loosened and hair slightly mussed. He looked like he'd been pacing. How are they? He asked without preamble. Dad's awake and complaining about the hospital food, which the doctors say is good. Mom started physical therapy yesterday. She cried when she could wiggle her toes. Gabriel's expression softened. I'm glad. They stood there, air thick with things unsaid. I need to shower, she said finally. Change clothes. Get back to... The morning routine can wait. Margaret has been handling things. Dinner is at 7, if you're up for it. An hour later, Maya made her way to the dining room. She expected Gabriel's usual solitary place setting, but instead, the table was set for 2. Gabriel stood when she entered, a gesture so unexpected it made her pause. I thought you might want company tonight, he said simply. As they ate, Gabriel asked gentle questions about her parents, the hospital, how she was holding up. His attention was complete, as if nothing mattered more than her answers. I've never had anyone do what you did, Maya said over dessert. The jet, the doctors, the medical bills, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me. Gabriel, you called me Gabriel, he said, a small smile playing at his mouth. On the phone, you called me Gabriel. Heat flooded Maya's cheeks. I was upset. I wasn't thinking. I liked it. I'd like you to keep calling me Gabriel. I'm not sure that's appropriate. Maya. The way he said her name made her breath catch. I think we're past worrying about what's appropriate. After dinner, they found themselves in the living room with the piano. Maya sat at the bench, her fingers finding keys without conscious thought, playing something soft and wordless that spoke of gratitude and homecoming and quiet joy of finding someone who would catch you when you fell. Gabriel sat on the nearby sofa, watching her with an expression she'd never seen. Open, vulnerable, like a man who'd finally stopped hiding from his own heart. I miss this, he said when she finished playing. The music. You. The admission hung in the air like a bridge waiting to be crossed. I missed you, Maya. The house felt empty without you. Maya turned on the bench to face him fully. Gabriel, I know what this is, he said, cutting her off gently. I know what I'm feeling, what I'm asking. I know it's complicated and potentially disastrous and completely unprofessional. And I don't care. He stood, moving to the piano. For 34 years, I've made every decision based on logic, on protecting myself, on maintaining control. But when you left, when I thought I might not see you again, he trailed off, shaking his head. What? Maya prompted softly. I realized that all the control in the world means nothing if you're too afraid to live. Maya felt her heart hammering. What are you saying? Gabriel looked at her then, his dark eyes holding hers with intensity that made her feel like the only person in the world. I'm saying that I'm in love with you, Maya Chen. I'm saying that somewhere between morning coffee and evening piano sessions, you became the most important part of my day. I'm saying that when I thought about losing you, I couldn't breathe. Maya stared at him, hardly daring to believe what she was hearing. And I'm saying, Gabriel continued, his voice growing stronger, that if you'll have me, not as your employer, but as a man who loves you, I'd like to spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worth the risk. Maya stood slowly, moving toward him until she was close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from his body. Gabriel, she whispered. Tell me, he said, his hands finding her face, thumbs brushing across her cheekbones. Tell me I'm not alone in this. You're not alone, she breathed. You're not alone in anything anymore. When he kissed her, it was like coming home to a place she'd never been but had always belonged. It was gentle and desperate and perfect, like every love song she'd ever played on the piano, like every dream she'd ever been afraid to dream. When they finally broke apart, Gabriel rested his forehead against hers, both breathing hard. I love you too, Maya whispered. I love you so much it terrifies me. Gabriel smiled then, the first real, unguarded smile she'd ever seen from him. And Maya knew that whatever came next, whatever challenges they'd face them together. The ice prince had finally melted, and Maya Chen had discovered that sometimes the job nobody wanted leads to exactly the life you never knew you needed. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that love can bloom in the most unexpected places, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from around the world, and let me know about a time when taking a risk led to something beautiful. Don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, because I have another incredible story coming tomorrow that will absolutely blow your mind. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. 1 year later, the Winters estate had transformed from a cold museum into a warm, living home. Maya Chen Winters, she still couldn't quite believe the name was real, stood in the kitchen that had become the heart of their home, preparing Sunday morning French toast from Gabriel's mother's recipe. Gabriel appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pressing a kiss to her neck. That smells like heaven, he murmured. Your mother's recipe, Maya said, leaning into his warmth. though I had to guess at a few ingredients since her handwriting was illegible. Gabriel laughed. She was a doctor before she married my father. Even her shopping lists looked like prescriptions. The easy way he talked about his mother now still amazed Maya. Gradually, Gabriel had begun sharing memories he'd buried for decades. They'd even started visiting her grave together, bringing flowers and stories of their life. "How are your parents?" Gabriel asked. "Dad's back to complaining about everything, which means he's feeling better. Mom walked half a mile yesterday without her cane." Maya smiled. "She wants to know when we're giving her grandchildren." Gabriel's arms tightened around her. "And what did you tell her?" "That we're still in the honeymoon phase." Maya turned in his arms. "Though, speaking of phases..." She trailed off, suddenly nervous. "What is it?" Gabriel asked, searching her face. Instead of answering, Maya reached into her pocket and pulled out a small white stick with 2 pink lines. Gabriel stared at it, his expression unreadable. Then his face broke into a grin so bright it could have powered the entire estate. "Really?" he whispered. "Really?" Gabriel lifted her off her feet, spinning her around the kitchen while she laughed. "I love you," he said, setting her down and cupping her face. "I love you so much, Maya." "I love you too," she replied, kissing him. "Even when you're being the impossible perfectionist who drove away 3 assistants in 1 month. That was before you taught me that perfection isn't as important as presence," Gabriel said. "Before you showed me that the best things in life can't be controlled or scheduled or managed." "Like what?" "Like love, like family, like the way you make everything better just by being here." As they stood in their kitchen, surrounded by the scent of French toast and the promise of their future together, Maya marveled at the journey that had brought them here. She'd taken the job nobody wanted, worked for the man everyone called impossible, and discovered that sometimes the greatest risks lead to the greatest rewards. The woman who'd been desperate enough to accept employment with the Ice Prince had found something more precious than any salary. A love that transformed both of them, a home that welcomed laughter as much as perfection, and a future that promised to be filled with the best days of their lives. Gabriel had been right about one thing. She hadn't been like the others. Not because she was braver or stronger or more skilled, but because she'd seen past the reputation to the man underneath, because she'd been patient enough to let the ice melt slowly, because she'd believed that everyone deserves to be loved for who they are, not who they pretend to be. And Gabriel had learned that the most valuable thing he could control wasn't his environment or his schedule or his emotions. It was his choice to love.